whole country on guard as flood alerts go up. Rain drenches the entire country. Here in Nassau, Pinewood Gardens becomes one huge puddle in some areas. 2 legs, 4 legs, it did not matter. The flood slowed them all down. Every passing car pushed another wave of fluidic frustration for residents. Out west, the same story. Trucks push through mini ponds as garbage piles up. Schools closed, but students' exams still had to go on. The Bahamas Tonight was there as the Bahamas goes through it all.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us.
Topping the news tonight, we're halfway through a bout of bad weather forecasters say will continue dumping rain nationwide. Over the last 24 hours, just over 6 inches of rain fell in New Providence, and there's more to come.
Yeah, there's still the threat of tornadoes at least through Friday. We're going to head straight over to Chief Meteorologist Basil Dean with the latest on the weather. Basil, can we expect less intense conditions in the days ahead, or should we still be on full alert?
Well, Chris, the rains have let up a bit here in the capital, but a second round of heavy showers and thunderstorms are expected to return late tonight and into the early morning hours and will continue through much of tomorrow. So the alert is still in place. The residents should continue to take the necessary action to safeguard their properties. But stay tuned. Temperatures around the family violence, travel, and boating forecast is still to come.
Good news came for residents today. Minister of State for Finance, Honorable Michael Halkitis, told the House that the government has issued an exigency order today for those who suffered loss from flooding from the recent storms here in New Providence. The loss, though, must be certified by the director of NEMA and is in effect for 90 days from yesterday. The minister says the order permits certain goods to be exempt from duty.
Under the schedule, building materials, electrical fixtures and materials, plumbing fixtures and materials, household furniture, fixtures, furnishings and appliances, freezers and heaters, materials for cleanup or repair to property, including fences and motor vehicles. Where any abuse or misuse of goods allowed under this declaration is observed, the goods may be seized and disposed of in accordance with Section 83 of the Customs Management Act.
Meantime, as you can imagine, anxiety grew with each drop of rain in Pinewood Gardens today.
Our Andrew Knowles went back into the area today and tells us how residents are coping amidst the stormy forecast.
As if flooding isn't enough for residents here in Pinewood, they say the movement of vehicles through the neighborhood is only further compounding their problem.
The jitney used to come fast, and sometimes when the jitney ride this way, the water gets in the house too.
I don't understand why you're going to drive through this water just to say, okay, well, like I'm touring. It's nothing to talk about. It's just you're making life miserable for the residents who live around here.
You would think a flooded road would cause a driver to take a detour. But in this case, our news team watched as these drivers kept on their route, some slow and some with speed.
If you don't live in Pinewood Gardens, you don't have to drive through the water. Avoid the water, please. You're going to make life a little bit easier for the people around here.
This is what Sapodilla Boulevard looked like yesterday. But today, this main thoroughfare is completely submerged in water again. While some streets and yards are already flooded, residents such as Deborah Johnson, who have recovered from last week's flooding, are extremely concerned that it's only a matter of time before floodwaters return.
I don't have nowhere to go, and the water come up through the whole place, Because when I get up, I walk right in the water, and then I'm a diabetic,
And while things look good now for Johnson, unfortunately, it's a different story for her neighbor, Valstine Excelsia, who is still dealing with last week's downpour, now compounded by last night's rain.
Everything, my bed, my TV, my job, bed, everything a mess. I don't know any one bed I get inside the house.
And you're already underwater again.
Yeah, water come back again inside the house.
Meanwhile, these residents are once again pleading for a proper drainage system and its maintenance.
They would say they pump the drain. As you can see, those drains are never clean. God knows they're not clean, and it's not fair to us.
If it rained for 10 minutes, more than 10 minutes, Pine was flooded. Why? If we can invest $100 and some million in the roads, what's it to invest $5 million to put down some solid drains other than drill some holes inside the road, which we all know makes no sense for Pinewood Gardens. It makes none.
Meantime, residents are asking drivers to be considerate, especially when they come through flooded corners like this one. Andrew Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Well, weather conditions changed drastically overnight, leaving several areas flooded, as you could have seen earlier. School officials, though, made an early decision for many of the schools to close, but those sitting in the BJC or BGCSEs were required to report to the exam centers. Janae Noel Ferguson tells us about the impact lingering rain has had on school.
Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald announced the closure of all schools in the northern and central Bahamas, New Providence included. Students scheduled to take the national examinations, however, were expected to show up, as this would be the only opportunity this year for them to take the important tests. When our news team took to the streets, several children were seen trying to make their way to school in the rain. Over at the Donald Davis Junior High, school officials reported a good turnout.
We have approximately 90 to 95% turnout this morning. It was a bit slow this morning. Some students turned up a few minutes late, but by and large, we were able to start on time.
Now, Principal Brown said that during the morning hours, she had a tsunami of phone calls from concerned parents
Wanting to know whether or not school was in session, and I had to explain that, yes, school was in session, especially for the national exam as it was conducted today. 7th and 8th graders did not have to report.
Weather conditions were calm on Wednesday morning after a night of torrential rain. We're here in the Claridge Road area where you can see that the water is reaching me almost knee deep. These residents in the background say they're trying to get to higher ground.
Especially up in here, they need a drainer. My two or three drainer, maybe one in our work yard, they should put one too for the water to settle in.
So every time it rains, you experience this condition?
Mm.
All right, thank you so much. So y'all are out free for the rest of the day?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
What are you going to do for the remainder of the day?
No, I ready to go home and sleep and put my leg up in the air.
There was also significant flooding near the Claridge Road Primary School, but by and large, many residents remained on the streets, although some had to struggle through the flooded low-lying areas. And with more rain predicted in the coming days, officials from NEMA are advising residents to take every precaution necessary. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Maritime interests were also affected by the weather. Charles Fisher passed through the Potter's Key dock area today to see just how boaters have had to alter their plans.
Potter's Key dock looked like business as usual Wednesday morning. Many fishing boats were docked in the harbor, just waiting out the weather. But for the mail boats, in particular the Luther Express, it's important to get the family island stocked out in case there's a major delay, according to Captain William Pinder.
We're a people that we're very concerned about our out island people, and we love Eleuthera. In fact, as a Christian, I love everybody, and we just want to make sure that they get their stores even in inclement weather like this, sir.
So y'all be taking that risk and going out there on the water?
Well, Lord willing, if all being well, we plan to take it in between the showers. And we leave 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for Spanish Wells. And then on Friday morning, we plan, Lord willing, to go to Harbour Island.
As for the fishing boats, many are being cautious and waiting word from the Met Department as to when it will be safe to go out. Crew of the Freedom Farm Rider from Morris Island, Captain Thomas, just in a wait and ready mood.
It's very rough over there, it's pretty terrible. We can't go.
How long have you all been in, and how long do you expect this to last for you?
Well, I expect it to last till about at least Friday, but after Friday then we probably go.
In terms of monetary value, how is this affecting you?
Well, it affects us a whole lot. We can't get work, we can't make the money. And that's our living,
For the ZNS News Network, I'm Charles Fisher.
All right, out west, cars had a hard time getting through much of the mini ponds in that area. Near Fort Charlotte, the road altered between dry and soaked. In some areas, the water got so deep that it was to the level of Jeep tires. Many times, cars could not pass and had to find another way to get home in many cases.
Officials at the Department of Environmental Health Services are addressing the garbage collection delays, the results of last week's storm and subsequent bad weather. Assistant Director Leonard Miller says the department will try to meet the demands for collection with a roll-off system. This will require residents to take their garbage to central locations where it will be collected. Containers have been put in place in Fox Hill, Angleton, Centerville, Baintown, Elizabeth Estates, and Cool Acres communities. They'll be there for about a week to collect bulk waste in particular.
It will be business as usual for officers of the Royal Bahamas Police Force before and after this week's heavy rain system. Assistant Police Commissioner Hewlin Hanna told ZNS News yesterday that an all-points bulletin was disseminated on the Force's network Tuesday to advise all officers of the weather system. He confirmed that all available officers nationwide will be out and about to maintain law and order.
Commanders would take charge of their areas. They would deploy officers in the appropriate numbers. And the whole thing is not for the police to work in isolation, but where we have government agencies and where we have private entities for us to pool our resources, particularly manpower, and to do some things. We may not have to rescue people, but the fact that the police's presence would mean a whole lot. It add a kind of calming effect, a soothing effect to persons who may feel otherwise fearful because people just don't know, and this is not a normal thing that happens in this community in terms of flooding. And so we will have that assurance, and we will of course work through NEMA, and then there's some things that we will continue to do on our own. That is, the Royal Bahamas Police Force and its business, the people's business, will continue in a very vibrant and robust way, and so the members of the public can understand that anything they need from us, we will be in a position to provide it, and then some.
Well, still to come tonight, we'll tell you what the first glimpse of the budget reveals about the year ahead.
And the Long Island Regatta has a sponsor. Get on board the boat. You'll figure that one out. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.